I do remember looking at houses in 2009 and thinking to myself, man, you could buy a house for 50 grand. How cool is that? I didn't understand or could even contemplate the things that were blowing up in that world.
Yeah.
Hello, you're listening to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, presented by Brandon Elliott. This show will be going over all aspects of real estate investing and is intended to educate, motivate, and prepare you to take action on your first or next real estate investment. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy.
Welcome back, everyone, to Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Brandon Elliott. I am privileged to have Frank on today over in Atlanta. Been in the game for 16 years, a dozen or so rentals, bunch of fix and flips, new construction the last 10 years, doing spec homes, helping out a few people on the side now and seeing where that will go. But you've been through a lot. You've done a lot of the unexpected and so forth, and just resilience, like a lot of us real estate investors, right? And pushing through things. So I want to be able to, kind of highlight some of those today. But for anybody out there that doesn't know you, where you're from, what you're up to, and how you got into this crazy world of real estate, do you mind just giving us that 30,000 foot view for myself and the listeners?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you, first of all, for having me on. I got involved in real estate the same way a lot of people did, and that's through something called Rich Dad, Poor Dad.
Yeah.
Right? We got the email, went to the seminar for 2 or 3 hours, whatever it was, and your eyes were like, woo! And right, and then, but we were action takers. I was a computer guy back then, so, taking action was our everyday thing in that world. And so we did like so many people do. They went to the 3-day seminar, paid whatever it was, a few $100. And then we turned around and said, hey, let's buy some courses. And after a few months, we owned a property. And it was like, well, cool, there you go. And we're off and running. After time, that led to us becoming full-time after a few years. Did a lot of wholesaling, which led to, did some flipping, bought some rentals. It graduated to bigger projects, graduated to new construction. And then 2024, we kind of settled down a bit and said, okay, what do we want to do when we grow up?
Yeah. Frank, what were you doing before Rich Dad, Poor Dad came around and you actually, decided, hey, I want to do this real estate thing? What were you doing?
So I was full-time IT.
Okay.
So I was an IT pro for 15 years. Saw that industry grow up. When I was getting into it, Windows 95 was still kind of new.
Yeah.
And so we got to see that world really evolve from Windows 95, 98, 2000, Windows 7, and so on and so forth. When smartphones came into the world, I remember when at one of my jobs, a funny story was we had an Apple guy, and I remember when he's like, this is going to be like the coolest thing for the future. And it was the original iPod.
Yeah.
And it was the coolest thing. And I ended up having one of those. And sadly, I lost it on an airplane. Made me very sad. Yeah. It was a cool little device. But that was our world. And it was a really fun time in IT because on the tail end of my college years, that was like when a PC was $2,000. And it was like, we got one as like college seniors, and it was like the coolest thing, right? Oh, there's AOL, there's email, like it was all. So just to see it evolve. And then by the time I left, we all had iPhones in our pocket and they were a commodity.
Sure. Frank, so talk to me, because you light up when you talk about, technology and some of the things that you were doing prior to real estate, which is awesome. I love that. Why real estate then? Why? I know was there anything that was missing or that you didn't like working for somebody else, or do you just like a little bit of pain and so you decided to jump into real estate? Why actually put yourself through that? Because you look like your face just brightens up when you talk about some of the technology and things that you were doing prior.
Well, I think it lights up because I think I caught the gold and maybe some of the best years of technology, because we went from no one had a computer at home or only a few people,
sure,
to everybody. And I got to ride that wave.
Very-
So I don't know if it was tech or I just happened, I grew up in the 80s, so I always tell people I got to see all the coolest music. I'm sorry.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
but what you mentioned about pain, that's interesting, because if I knew how much pain was going to come with real estate, I don't know if I would have left IT.
Yep.
I think maybe I would have stayed, but then it took me many years to learn. I say it like this: most of us learn real estate in a bubble. And what I mean by that is we learn real estate, we learn everything about real estate, but the thing that really hurt us was we didn't learn about business until many years later. And real estate, and this is just my opinion, it's taught in a bubble. But real estate is not business. It's just a vehicle. Whereas business is business regardless of what you're doing. There's fundamentals that underlie business. And I was in real estate for several years before I was even opened up to that idea. And once I started understanding there's this thing called business fundamentals, I was like, wait a second, right? And it's not like you figure this out overnight, but you start realizing, shoot, if I had to do it all again, I would do it very differently. So
Yeah, I like that. So when was the first year that you jumped into real estate, and what was that first deal? What did it look like?
yeah, so that first Rich Dad Poor Dad, summer of 2008 sometime.
Okay.
And we bought our first deal January of 2009.
Okay.
As you can
So
imagine,
after the crash.
well, it was in the middle of it, or in the early part of it. So the world was crashing. The real estate world, like the stock market already was blowing up, but now the real estate's blowing up. Well, I didn't realize, I was still working full time. So I'll never forget, our boss told us at work, he was like, man, as long as the stock doesn't go below 6,000, we're good. Right. So I remember that, and it never did. So we were good. But I do remember looking at houses in 2009 and thinking to myself, man, you could buy a house for 50 grand. How cool is that? I didn't understand or could even contemplate the things that were blowing up in that world.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until several months later. So after we bought our first deal, we did hard money, and back then hard money was way simpler than it is now. It was actual true asset-based lending. You had all this craziness they put you through today. It was much, now don't get me wrong, it was also more expensive and the houses were cheaper, right? So, but I remember a hard money lender I had met, and again, we're in the business, I don't know, 6-8 months at this point, whatever, a few months, whatever it was. And they were like, hey, if you know anyone that wants to buy a house, yeah, we'd love it if you could help us sell inventory. Now, I'm brand new, but I'm like, we've only bought one house, which we kept for many years. It was a buy, fix, rent scenario. But they sent me these houses for sale. And I looked at the prices they were asking. And of course, I'm like, okay. And we ran comps on them. And the comps were like 60-70% lower than their loans. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. You're looking for 120, but the comp report says it's worth 40 or 50, something like that. And I still didn't understand what that ultimately meant, other than, at first I'm like, maybe this guy's crazy. I don't know. Over the course of the first couple years, we just bought buy, fix, and hold. Okay. But we also started to understand probably a couple years later what was really going on. And what really opened my eyes to it was when I started learning about wholesaling. Now, most people start with wholesaling. We didn't. When we came through the Rich Dad program, it was like learn about foreclosures, learn about lease options, and I never remember what I think it was creative fine. I don't even remember actually. It was foreclosure, lease option, and something else, whatever it was. But it wasn't wholesaling initially. And so I didn't really start learning about wholesaling for probably a year or so into it. So when I started getting calls from a seller and I started hearing stories, that's when it actually finally started to realize, oh, this is bad.
And why was it bad? Bad from the market aspect, you're saying?
Right, because, your typical phone call was, I owe, and I'm just, throwing out general numbers. I owe let's say $150,000 on a house mortgage, and it's worth $75,000. Can you help? And I'm like, and I didn't know how to do short sales or any of that. I was just kind of like, I'm so sorry. Like, right. Like whatever I said, I'm so sorry. We're not able to help. We're just figuring out this wholesale thing. And I didn't really know much about wholesaling, but what I did know is I can't wholesale a house worth $75,000 less than what they owe. That I did know.
Yeah. Okay. So you started doing some real estate, and then what other struggles did you start running into over the years that were kind of unexpected and ended up being great learning lessons for yourself, or even maybe just the listeners moving forward?
Well, the first challenge I ran into was learning that I had to learn how to talk to people. Like when I was in IT, of course I talked to people. I did some consulting. So I talked to people, but I wasn't really a people person. And I learned that in real estate, you really need to be a people person, and you need to be a solutions-oriented person. Or maybe you just need to be a really good listener and not say anything.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's all people need, is to just know that, okay, he's sitting there listening, and that's all they need. And then they're good. Right.
Yep.
And so these were skills that I didn't really have to be great at in IT. In IT, I was basically paid to know the systems, be a good teammate, communicate whatever needs to be communicated timely, effectively. It's a systems-oriented world, process. When I became self-employed entrepreneur, all of that went away. And I left IT because I was actually burned out. I basically got bored. So burned out's maybe not the right word. I was literally bored. That's literally the word I told my boss when I said, I'm not leaving this company, I'm leaving the industry. I'm just bored.
Yeah.
And by the way, it was a great company, great job, great benefits, great teammates. So when everything's great and you're bored, it's time. But what I didn't realize was all that valuable knowledge in systems and process. Like I turned that part of my brain off for a while. And that was a mistake. Because that was the very thing I was good at, I quit using.
Yeah, that's so true. So when it comes down to some of these deals, so you have about 13 rentals now. You've been stacking them up just slow and steady over the years, I suppose, and then just taking down some flips. Talk to me. What does that look like? How are you getting your leads currently? And is there anything different outside kind of the ordinary that you're going after?
Well, my favorite way for getting leads, I'm not a particularly huge fan of marketing. I enjoy it, but it's not like a passion.
Okay.
Like for some people, like that lights them. Like it just doesn't. I enjoy it. I enjoy being creative, and I appreciate that as I've had to learn how to be a marketer, that I had to realize, Frank, you are creative. Matter of fact, everybody's creative. We've just somehow convinced ourselves that, I'm not a creative person because of yada, yada, yada. With some exercises, you'd be amazed how creative we are, which has really been really fun. But my favorite form of finding deals, as much as that's been good for me, is networking.
Yep.
That's really my favorite, is pick up the phone and talk to wholesalers, talk to realtors, and get leads. And, now, you're going to pay a fee for that. True. Yeah.
They do all the heavy lifting. They do all the real work. So it's like, if it still makes sense to you and you don't need to deal with all that nonsense, then it's not a bad gig then, right?
No, not at all. And so I really appreciate the relational part of it.
Sure.
I like the wheeling, dealing, and negotiating. Now, granted, even when you're networking, the majority of leads come your way are not going to work. I think that's true no matter what method you use. The majority of leads that come your way are going to, and by the way, that's not unique to real estate. I've had the privilege now to get involved in some business entrepreneurial groups. It's the same challenges. It's just the vehicle is different. It's not real estate. It's something else. Yeah. But the majority of people you talk to are just not going to be a fit. It's not going to work. And that's okay.
Yep.
And so it becomes a question of, hey, how many people can I talk to? How many people can I stay on their radar to let me know? Now, the beautiful thing is in the world of real estate investing is there's tools out there that provide leads. And you don't have to pay for them. You could go to a website like Investor Lift, which at first I didn't love it because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being bombarded by bad deals in email. But then what I realized was you could control what you got and didn't get. And so when I started playing with filters, an amazing thing happened. Now the deals were getting more interesting. And you can meet some good people out there. And you realize, man, with a tool just like, and by the way, I don't get paid to say anything. I don't know who, I'm not an affiliate of Investor Lift. I don't know who owns it. I'm just a guy that figured out this is a platform that any investor could get on that, has some knowledge and find a deal somewhere.
Yep.
So I feel like now anybody should be able to do a deal somewhere because they've made it so easy to do it.
Okay, so once you get these leads from either Investor Lift or networking with others that have wholesaling companies or brokers, agents, you name it, to get you these leads, then how are you funding them typically?
We typically fund with hard money these days.
Okay.
We've done some private capital, but typically we're sticking with hard money these days.
And what is your oldest property, like buy and hold, that you have now? How long have you had it?
Well, all the old ones I think are gone, if I'm not mistaken. So the oldest one now is only going to be a handful, maybe 2019, 20, something like that. So
Gotcha. Okay, well, that's cool. There should be some good equity in some of those, correct? Have you leveraged any of those, or are they all kind of on long-term financing?
Yeah, no, we stick everything on long-term financing for the holds. And that just goes back to what we learned really in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, right? Was, right? Funded finance, tenant pays a mortgage, carry on, right? That's just the model we've done. And is that the best model? I don't know that it's the best model, but it's worked and it's time proven. And I guess what I'll say there is, after as many years as we've done this, we've seen a lot of things come and go, but the fundamental stuff just doesn't change and it works.
Yep. And so were you doing the burst strategy on these? Were you fixing them up as well, or just buying them as is and keeping a good long-term financing on them?
Yeah, so we were actually executing BRRRR before it became a marketing term. That was literally our first few deals, but the term didn't exist.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what it was. About, the burst strategy. I'm like, there's nothing new about the burst strategy. It's been forever.
Yep.
But those were our first few deals. And I tell people, we used to have an Airbnb, we call it, it's an Airbnb, a short-term rental. In 2013, it was called a vacation home, right? So before that became a thing, we were in that game, but we didn't think of it as a game. We thought of it as, hey, we've got this house that's rented out as a vacation home. And
nice.
That's all we thought about it.
I love it. So what's the plans now? Like where do you see yourself in the next 6 to 12 months or the next few years, even afterwards? Do you believe rates will come down? How do you feel about the market currently?
So I'm going to back up and say 2024, we wrapped up a number of things and we kind of stepped back a little bit. Yeah, for two reasons. One, the market just really wasn't very good in our opinion for deals. I just didn't see much that was really interesting. And B, it was just kind of nice to step back and really refocus. We've got some old commitments that we've got to wrap up that, still take some effort. But at the same time, we said, you know what, we've done the big projects, we've done the little ones. Let's just do easier stuff now. Like we've built houses with, moderns and farmhouses and bungalows and this, that, the other. And you're like, you know what? I don't have any need to show pictures on Facebook. Look at this pretty thing I did, right? Like nothing wrong with that. But it's us at this point, let's just do the stuff that we enjoy. Let's find simple deals that can be profitable, enjoyable in places that we actually like to go. There's a philosophy that says and we did it once. It was this idea of we'll do a deal anywhere if the numbers work. And guess what? We used to kind of think that as well. We don't think that way anymore. If the numbers work, but it's a place I literally have zero desire of ever visiting for any reason whatsoever, I probably won't do it.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't bring joy. And at my age now, I'm like, if it's not fun, I don't want to do it. Like, let's do when I'm doing the stuff I enjoy, I have the highest chance of success.
What do you enjoy? What gets you excited now? What are you trying to do outside of real estate?
Well, of course, I like traveling, so I am looking at deals in other markets. Like, hey, is that looks like a cool, we're looking at a deal now in a market that's nice, and it's like, hey, we could do something here, right? Because this is a place that I actually would like to visit, right?
Okay.
And so that's exciting to me. And I'll give you an example. Like, we're looking at a deal now. I don't know if it'll come together, but it's in the mountains. Well, the mountains are beautiful. I like going to the mountains. All right. There's communities there. There's real estate there. Let's do a deal in the mountains if we can make it work. That's exciting to me. So we just want to make sure we're not doing stuff for the sake of doing a deal. That doesn't excite us anymore. It has to have a little more purpose to it now. And we enjoy the travel side of things. And there's the U.S. is a big place. There's a lot of cool places.
That's right.
There's no shortage of cool places to look at that can fulfill both of those factors.
I love it. Well, Frank, talk to me. Where can some of our listeners find you and connect with you sometime in the future?
The easiest place is on Facebook. That's probably the social media platform I'm on the most. I mean, I'm on LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, all of that. But Facebook is where I'll hang out the most. So messaging me on Facebook will by far be the most effective. Alternatively, you can go to my website, frankiglesias.com, or you could call me. 678-408-2228. We are old school. We still answer the phone. And if not, leave a message. We do check voicemail.
But do not send a text, because I'm just kidding. No, that sounds good.
You could send a text. I'm not as responsive to those as I am a voicemail. But, we did a lot of junk text, so I don't get quite as excited about that. So
yeah. I'm sure. Okay. Well, thank you so much. I love that. Well, I appreciate you jumping on today and sharing your excitement with us and what you have going on. Guys, if you want to obviously reach out to Frank, Wealth and Knowledge, been doing this for a good while now. If you have any questions for him, do so. If you're trying to get a hold of me, then you can find me on Instagram. It's going to be Brandon Elliott Investments, or check out our business page, Credit Counsel Elite, on IG. And if you're looking for funding, I'm talking up to $500,000. That's $2, $3, $4, or even $500,000 in new funding with interest rates as low as 0%. We can show you how to get access to that, how to talk to the banks properly, how to fix credit, how to boost up your scores, how to even travel hack and turn these cards into cash within a fast period of time. So if you're looking for more information about that, then check out creditcounselelite.com. That's creditcounselelite.com. There's a quick 5-10 minute video on there that explains more about what we do, help answer a lot of your questions. And then afterwards, you're going to have more questions. I'm giving you a complimentary call with either myself or someone on our team to be able to answer all those questions, talk about where you're currently at, where you're looking to go, and help fill in the gaps to be able to get there. So with that being said, we also have our event coming up here in San Diego, April 3rd and 4th. Would love to give the invite out to you. If you're interested in hearing more, simply DM me, reach out, and would love to get you that information. We are going to have amazing speakers and amazing content, incredible networking. It's this April 3rd and 4th here in San Diego, beautiful, sunny San Diego, California. You're not going to want to miss it. So stay tuned. Thank you so much for subscribing and getting that new notification every single Monday when the new episode drops. Leave that 5-star review if you haven't already. Make sure you do that. I love all the support and feedback. You guys are amazing. Keep it coming. So share this out if you haven't already, and we will catch you on the next one. Frank, thank you so much. Till next time, guys. God bless.
This has been another episode of Ready, Set, Go Real Estate Investing Podcast, brought to you by Brandon Elliott. For more information, please visit BrandonElliottInvestments.com. Also, please don't forget to like, share, and leave a comment below. Thanks again for joining.